I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. You know, things are really good between Rik Emmett and his former bandmates in Triumph, Mike Levine, and Gil Moore. They weren't always that way, and we'll talk about that in this clip on Rock History Music. In this clip, we talk about Rock You Down and the Surveillance album, which was the last album that Rik Emmett was on. Something happened during the recording that was kind of the last straw for Rik Emmett. Rik Emmett had written Rock You Down, but without his permission, Gil Moore had changed the lyrics, and at that point, remember, they're okay now, but at that point, it was the last straw. Rik said, I don't want to be in this band anymore. And following that clip, we'll also talk about Ed Bickert, who is a guitar king, the late great, to Rik Emmett. That's coming up with this clip and a lot more on Rock History Music. We don't get political on our channel.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, well, I think that's wise, But I do think it's interesting that there are creative people that are they're really driven. They really have a sense of their own kind of righteousness, and that can be dangerous, and I don't necessarily have that. I have a pretty strong streak of humility and modesty in me, which is not to say that I don't. Somebody asked me a question the other day about, Triumph, and, oh, did I think that Gil was maybe taking a little shot at me? And I go, well, he might have been. But I said, you know what? I was also the kind of guy that maybe deserved a shot from time to time.
In what context he was taking a shot? Sorry to interrupt you.
It was it was about, the ending of the band and the last straw of the Sport of Kings record where the lyrics had got changed to one of my songs and stuff.
And they didn't ask you?
No, they did not seek permission, which it was a kind of a violation of the whole Three Musketeers thing for me, And so I kind of went, well, clearly it's over, I got to have to figure a way to get out, and I, I'm sure he regretted it. But like I said, I'm sure there were arguments and fights from time to time where both Gil and Mike would be, when I wasn't in the room, they'd be saying like, man, that guy, what a piece of work he is. Like, what, he can really be a jerk and an asshole. And I think I could be, I really do think that I did have that creative artist kind of, no, I really believe in this. I'm gonna go to the mat to fight for this, And sometimes it's not a good way to behave, You can still do it, but just don't be a jerk about it, Anyways.
The song was Rock You Down, right?
Yeah. And when I'd originally written it, the lyric was a very Pete Townsend kind of thing about every generation comes along and finds a way to come into conflict with the generation before it, want to change the world, want to make the world, fix it in their own image, which it's a healthy thing. It's a right thing. And the quote that I'd already picked to put with the lyric page in the album and on the, in those days there was still vinyl, but in the booklet and stuff was a quote from, I think, Benjamin Franklin or somebody that was like, hey, every now and then a little revolution is a good thing. And then Gil changed the lyric and the song was about, hey, hot looking chick, I'd really like to get into your pants. I want to rock you down. And I went, oh no, like, really? Oh no, Now, by the way, I'm going to show you this too. This is a guitar that I've just had custom made, which is a Telecaster because Bickert got me into Telecasters. And this guitar weighs almost nothing. It's like 6.5 pounds because this is all hollowed out. But I'm a big Tele guy because of Ed. Now, the thing about this guitar is it looks like a Tele in a way, but it's like a Gibson Les Paul, the bridge and the string height and the neck angle. This is like Les Paul. The string playing is like Les Paul. The guitar's like Tele. So I wanted to show you that. Okay, we're going through the pictures.
This is fun. The tortured genius thing and it comes up lately in almost every interview. I was talking to Sylvia Tyson the other day, name dropper John Bowden. And she was talking about all these people that she knew in the early days. And she says, they're all dead. She's like, I don't know how I'm still here. Even Ian's dead. And, but we've lost so many people. I mean, even going through your history, look how many people in that timeline
Yeah.
Yeah, and look at your brothers. I appreciated the story of your brothers. I appreciate the fact that your younger brother kind of gave you the nudge, and we'll get to that maybe in a second. But how close were you to your brothers?
Not very close to my older brother, extremely close to my younger brother in ways that were more about just emotion more than seeing him a lot. Because once you're in a rock band and you're touring, I mean, I didn't see my wife a lot for, the first 10 years. And then even when I was home, and now I'm off to the studio and I'm putting in 12, 14-hour days. And so I didn't get to see this one of the sort of regrets of my life, that the things that I should have prioritized more in terms of time, I didn't, but having said that, once I got out of Triumph, my brother and I played together in a men's softball league, and so we had a lot of great times together. And so I was really close to my younger brother, Russell. But my older brother, Rob, he had a tough life. My mom was under the impression that she'd had a long, difficult childbirth with him, and she felt he'd been oxygen deprived. And so
you mentioned that, in the book.
Yeah. And it wasn't like he had learning disabilities. But in those days, everybody would just say, well, he's slow, he's slow. And they would put him at the back of the classroom and let him work at his own tempo. He failed grade 2. And I was in a class that accelerated grades 3 and 4 into grade 5. So by grade 5, I'd caught up to him, but he was 2 years older than me. But my brother was the kind of guy that would be like, there would be something that happened at recess in the schoolyard, and it would be that some bully was beating up my brother, and I would have to try and go to the rescue of my older brother, those kinds of things. They're bringing you together and they're making you closer, but at the same time, they're making you realize, well, there's a gap between us. There's a distance here, and I was always sort of in the, they called it the brain class, and because I had these sort of gifts where music and art and sports for me, I was good at all the extracurriculars of school, and my brother, he didn't have any of that stuff. And so later in life, he ended up having issues. I mean, he started smoking when he was about 15 years old, and he just never stopped. And then he's got older, he was drinking and he wouldn't stop. And yeah, so all of these kinds of dependencies and addictions, and they landed him in, he burned out every single bridge in the, Greater Toronto area social welfare system, and had been to rehab and had been to his 12 steps. He probably did them 4 times, and eventually he had a cancer that he couldn't beat, But having said all that, my older brother was also, he was religious. He had a profound faith, and he believed that he was going to, and I would sit with him in the hospital, and in the end, and I would say, hey man, you're going to, you think you believe you're going to go get to meet your God. So think about that. Think about, what you might want to say and how, how it might go, because that was really all he had to, that was where it was headed, So, yeah, I think he got some comfort out of that, and we were close. My brother sort of found the best part of himself when he was dying. That was my older brother. My younger brother always had the best part of him readily available to anyone that, wanted to.
Lay It on the Line is the new book from Rik Emmett. It's an amazing book. It's more about life than it is really about Triumph, but there's a lot of juicy Triumph stories, a lot of great fan stories on there. But what I enjoyed the most is his rules to life, rules that he used to become a successful rock star, really. And some of these rules I used to live by, and I've forgotten them. You know how it is when you have something that works for you, and then years later you go, when did I stop doing that? There's a lot of that in Rik Emmett's book, Laying on the Line. Links in the top of the description where you can pick it up directly from the publisher. We'll have more from Rik Emmett in the next few days. Really, comment on our videos because we read all the comments. Subscribe to our channel. It really does help. If you want to make a donation to the channel, at the very top of the description, there's a PayPal link. You can join our Patreon and get early access to our videos. Like our videos and share them on social media. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Take care of yourself.